Wow, a room full of people who care about cybersecurity. Uh, and Namaskaram, I'm from Ottapalam. I left the region for last 18 years I've been living in Middle East, and great, proud moment to see this. Um, so I'll start with a particular statistics, right? So if cybersecurity was, or rather the cyber crime was a country, this would be the third largest economy in the world. That's a size, enormity, right? So we are talking about $10.5 trillion is the size of cybercrime today, which is massive. And this is not going to stop. This is going to grow further, right? Um, I just landed this morning from Dubai. Uh, we are currently fighting a cyber criminal who has brought lots of shops down for a retail chain in Dubai over the weekend. Right? This is like 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning, last Saturday, still not up. 1,300 machines, all encrypted, number of shops down. Very, very serious situation, right? So threat is real. Gone are the days when we believe that threat actors are some script kiddies sitting in a dark room with a hoodie on. Those are not that. So just trying to make an attempt on defining what threat is, right? So threat is, in simple terms, an intent with ability to execute. Now, you talk about intent. Intent is predominantly money motivated, right? So people are there after money. They're not behind, they're not there to prove a point, right? So they are just to make sure that they are getting money out of it. So based on our statistics, what you've seen is about 86% of the incident response engagements what we deal with are financially motivated. But obviously there are other nation state sponsor attacks, there are hacktivists, all of that. So I'll tell you a simple thing, right? So we give service to a organization who sell alcohol beverages to a Islamic country. And they are being targeted by hacktivists from Iran because they are doing something which is considered as haram, right? So to Islamic countries. Now that is the intent. Now the ability to execute, these, you don't really need to have an ability to execute. You can partner with people who got the ability to execute, right? So I can hire a ransomware as a service. I can hire people who can create these things for me. I don't need to be an expert. I've got lots of people who are experts. I just need to pay them by hour, by day, by week, and they will create this for me, right? This is a big ecosystem we are talking about. We are fighting seriously, very serious criminals who wear suit and tie, who are sitting in with organizations. They got a reputation to maintain. They got HR systems. They got marketing. This is quite serious, right? No wonder that this economy has gone up to $10.5 trillion. Now, if you look at the startups, that's what the topic of today, right? Startups are generally in a mode where you want to bootstrap and you want to move fast, right? So you don't have time to really look at cybersecurity as a core problem. So I just thought of putting some statistics here. So it is said that about 74% of the SMEs, they report at least one cyber attack in the last 12 months, right? It's a big number, right? Out of 100 SMEs, 74 of them have said that we had one cyber attack. This could be ransomware, this could be business email compromise, this could be a phishing, whatever, right? 60% of those 74% are out of business within 6 months. We got lots of startups sitting here, and you started in January, before June, you're out of business because of a cyber attack, which is very serious. I've got some examples which I can talk about on that particular area. Only 13% of the SMEs have told that, yes, we got a cybersecurity policy. So people in this room, you need to ask yourself a question. Do we have a cybersecurity policy as an organization? If there is a policy defined, what is that, right? So worthwhile to check that. Now, if you look at the startup infrastructure, I just thought of taking some public examples. Usually it's not good to take examples like this, but this is a public example. So this was an organization, a startup from our country. They had a serious breach, data breach. This was a disgruntled employee trying to take the data out. And the CEO had to come in public and say that, hey, we had a data breach. And this, it's called as Kirana Pro, right? So Bangalore-based startup, and they had a serious challenge with that particular thing. And it's not new in the food industry. Zomato had a big breach a few years ago. Multiple 17 million user records were gone from a data breach perspective. That is again very serious from Zomato. Now, this was again quite recent, 25th of September. There is a software called Collins Aerospace. Now, this software is being used by multiple airports across the globe, and this software was breached. And all of a sudden, number of people are walking into a Heathrow airport or a Dublin airport or whatever, and they're unable to check in because systems are down. And there is no way to issue boarding passes. So they were writing handwritten boarding passes, because of which the whole reputation of multiple airline got damaged, multiple airports got damaged. There were about 6 European airports got impacted. Imagine that you're stuck in the airport for 8-9 hours when you are going on an emergency because of a cyber breach. This is not a small software, right? Collins Aerospace is owned by Raytheon, which is a very popular top-end multi-billion-dollar company, right? And they had a breach because of which all their customers got affected. So you need to look at what kind of softwares you are using. Are you auditing them? Very, very important to understand that. Now, 19th of July last year, 2024, lots of people walked into the office, and all of a sudden you got a blue screen of death, right? So every machine was down. So we used to say in our childhood that, oh, when there is power cut, his neighbor has got power cut, right? So, okay, then it's fine, right? So that was the situation here. This was the CrowdStrike incident, 19th July 2024. Billions of machines were down, right? So Delta Airlines is still having a case against CrowdStrike, suing them for multi-million dollars of 1,300 flights canceled. Airline is just one example. This could be as simple as a coffee shop they were not able to take payment because they were using CrowdStrike and their machines were down, right? So we are so digitally involved in our day-to-day lives, because of which if a system like that is down, which is impacting us. And this was on occasion when my parents, who is not into this space at all, giving me a phone call and said that, hey, what is this blue screen of death, right? So that was all over local newspapers. It was across the globe, right? So CrowdStrike made this incident cybersecurity popularity was raised big time because of that particular incident. It was not a cyber incident, actually. It was a patch failure, right? So because of which that happened. But again, from a resiliency perspective, important. Now, I just thought of taking 2 startup examples, right? Now, in this part of the world, we do not really need to inform when we got a breach. There is no law saying that. But if you go to the West, it's a bit more, you need to inform within X number of days that, yes, we had a breach, right? So I just took 2 examples. So first one is an organization in Australia called MediSecure. Now, this is a digital prescription company. They made the national health record digitalized. It's a good organization. There was a backing from the government of Australia, and they are out of business because of ransomware attack, right? So data was leaked. This was called as double extortion, because you take your data, all the data is gone, and then you encrypt all the machines. Then you say that, Mr. Customer, your machines are all encrypted. Do you want the key? Pay us the money. If you do not pay us the money, we will publish this. So that is name and shame, right? So they ran out of business. That company no more exists because of a breach which happened in 2024, right? This one, it's called as T. It's a North American company. They are into dating, right? So there were people who were, it was a dating website in North America. Lots of photographs were uploaded, as you can imagine, in a dating website. And all these photographs people upload, assuming that it is private, but all these photographs were exposed. This was all over the internet. All the records were out. They're not out of business technically, but they are under serious scrutiny. They have to pay lots of fines, stuff like that, because of a data breach. Imagine that I'm uploading my photograph thinking that it is secure onto a website, and that is getting leaked big time, right? So now, talking about the impact on startups. We can talk about lots of areas. I just thought of looking into 4 particular areas. So the financial impact, trust impact, you have investor confidence because you're all in the room, you need to get investors attracted to you for sure. And then the 4th one is your survival rate, right? If I double click on some of these things, financial impact, the average cost of a ransomware attack today is $4.3 million. If you convert it to Indian rupees, the amount of money, $4.3 million is, that's game over. You cannot come out of it as a startup, because if you have to pay that kind of money to either to threat actors or to recover from whatever that is what happened to the MediSecure app, right? So you can't come out of it. Jaguar Land Rover had a breach, but they had a backing of Tata. Tata got money, but they also lost billions of dollars. I think they lost $2 billion. But obviously, Tata has funding to do that. But if you're a startup, you may not have that muscle to come out of that. That's the first thing. Second piece, the trust, right? So we all have our customers, and one of the fundamental principle of doing business is trust. That's what I believe. And trust have a big hit if you got a cyber attack. So trust is another second massive area. Third one, I think we touched upon this earlier, your survival, right? So within 6 months, 60% of the companies who had a cyber attack, whose startup is gone out of business. So cyber attack can take you out of business, right? So you need to have that understanding that cyber attack could have a survival rate hit directly on your business. And the 4th one, which in my view, one of the most important thing for this group here, which is the investor confidence, right? So your investors should feel that, okay, this is a stable organization. These guys may not go out of business because they take cybersecurity a bit seriously, like how they consider other business risk. So when you look at business risk, cybersecurity sometimes takes a back seat. Now that cannot be the case, so this is again important. Now, I've just looked at, on a very nice morning, lots of negativity, like what Minister was saying. So I would rather talk a bit more positive on this now. What CEOs can do? So what is a practical playbook, right? So in my career, I've been talking to people on how you evangelize importance of cybersecurity. That's been I've been doing for the last 20 years, right? So I've just put down specific points on areas which are important for you guys to consider for your organizations. So if there is one thing I want you guys to take back, this is what it is, right? So the first piece is consider security as a growth enabler, not as a cost center. So security is not an IT problem anymore. It's a business problem, right? So you need to don't look at security as a cost center. You have to look at it as a growth enabler, which is number 1. Now, that's a mindset shift. The number 2 is you look at the basics. Now, sometimes we talk about AI. So how do you address artificial intelligence related threats? And my advice to people would be, okay, you need to address that. But before that, you get your basics right, your fundamentals right. Right? What are your fundamentals? Are you using your multi-factor authentication? How strong is your password? How well do you your security awareness trainings for your employees? Right? How do you do your network segmentation? How do you do your basic things right? Your patching, your vulnerability management, right? So how do you do these basic things right? So if you're going and talking to your security people who are responsible for this, or IT who's responsible for this, that's a question you need to ask, right? Which is 80% of the breaches happen because of 20% of the fundamental security flaws. Now, we have been talking about this for the last 2 decades. Still, we see organizations having fundamental issue with this particular thing. Many people look at this as a compliance issue. It is not compliance. Compliance will not give you security. Most of these companies who got breached, they were all fully compliant. Right? So many healthcare companies in Dubai, and I did some checkups with one of the hospitals in Dubai, and I was chasing them to get a report, and I was not getting the report. It's been 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. Then I said that, are you sure this is not related to the cyber attack which you had? And they didn't have an answer, and they lost my data. This is my personal experience I'm talking about, where the healthcare and that particular hospital, they were fully compliant. As per the auditors, tick in the box, right? But they got breached. That's the second piece. Now, the third one would be your third-party risk management. Now, you
are not you as an organization. You work with lots of companies, right? So I spoke about CrowdStrike incident. We spoke about the London Heathrow airport down because of the Collins Aerospace. Now, you need to have an ability to audit the people with whom you are working with, your supply chain, your wider ecosystem. Whoever is part of your ecosystem, you need to have an ability to understand how well they take cybersecurity within their organizations, right? Very important, third-party risk management. The fourth piece, which is the practice the playbook, right? So if I ask you a question today that if you have a ransomware attack today, touch wood, something bad happens, would you pay or not pay the threat actors? Now, there is no right or wrong answer to this question, but there should be an answer, right? Now, that answer cannot be determined when you are in the middle of a crisis. You need to have that answer ready when you are having a clear head to think, right? So this is one of the most important things which organizations miss, which is we call it as tabletop exercise, which is making sure that you have a crisis management team, we call it a CMT, which could be your chairman of the board, this could be the CEO, this could be the CISO, CIO, Chief Risk Officer, whoever that is, and whoever is the most important people in your organization, right? 5 people in that WhatsApp group who will have that access when you are in the middle of an incident. On a Saturday morning, you are down, organization is down, who would be the 3-4 people who will get involved in that CMT? And how do you practice that? Now, this has to be documented. I'll tell you one other small story of many years ago in Saudi Arabia, in Jubail, which is the industrial area, one of the largest industrial area in the world. So they had a breach, and there was an incident responder walking into this gate with a mobile phone because he wanted to pass this mobile because somebody else, expert, is at the other end. Security, physical security said that, sorry, mobile phones are not allowed. And he said like, oh, but we are going through a breach. You need to take this. And he said like, sorry, it's not allowed. So, and their CEO called this company and said that, please let them in because we are going through a crisis. And security said that, sorry, not allowed. Because that security is from the national security, they said like, it's not allowed. And that day, they realized that the playbook should be defined in a way that mobile phones are allowed on certain exceptions, which has to be defined. That comes as part of your practice. The next one, which is a zero trust mindset, right? We spoke about trust earlier in a different context. In cybersecurity, we say, in God we trust, rest everything we monitor, right? So it's super important to make sure that you do not trust anything. By default, you should have a mindset of verifying everything before you say go ahead. The next one, which in my view, the most important one, is build a security culture. I was talking to somebody during the break that you need to have a security-first mindset throughout the organization. Right from the board to the chairman to the CEO, everybody should have a security-first mindset. Because what this means is, right from the employee joining to your security awareness trainings, to your dumpster, whatever, shredding of your important papers, the way you leave your papers on the printer, all of this is part of the security culture. You need to have a very good understanding on security is everybody's responsibility, not a CISO's responsibility who gets fired when there is a breach, but this is way more important than that. I hope this was making sense on what I was saying. Now I'll just end this with a summary before I just finish this and hand it over. First thing I said was threat is real, right? So threat is not the kiddies sitting in a dark room with a hoodie on. Those days are gone. Threat actors are professionals with an organization and a business to run. That is number one. Number two, we looked at some recent examples. We spoke about MediSecure, we spoke about the T, we spoke about Kirana Pro, we spoke about some of the other examples, right? These are all, many of these companies are out of business because of what happened. Number three, this is way more important to startups because of those 4 parameters I said. Your trust, your finance, your survival rate, all of that is very important, right? Or your VC part as well, extremely important. And last one, which is what CEOs can do, which is probably the only positive thing which I spoke on what a CEOs can do with those 6 playbook steps, right? On that note, I'll just want to end by saying that innovation builds momentum and trust builds longevity and cybersecurity builds both. Thank you.